What's up, everybody? Jon from Bad Catholic Dads here. After you listen to the episode, please check us out on patreon.com/badcatholicdads. Patreon is a platform we're using where listeners can financially support their favorite artists on a monthly basis. While there is no paywall for our content, we would appreciate any support you can offer. Your support can help make this community and content better. Please prayerfully consider any support you can offer. We would be grateful for any amount. Also, check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We post all our updates there, so definitely check that out. Share with your friends and family, or anyone who you think would enjoy the podcast. Lastly, we're on YouTube, Google Play, and of course, the iPhone podcast app. Of course, my children are making all the noise in the world, and I love it. If you feel inclined, though, hit us up with that fresh 5-star review. Not only does it help the podcast out tremendously, we also read all the reviews on air. Thanks for listening to the Bad Catholic Dads podcast, and enjoy.
Catholic Dads, Catholic Dads.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Bad Catholic Dads podcast, episode number 9. I'm one of your hosts, John Perez, alongside fellow co-hosts, fellow dad, the Dr. Derek Rogers. How's it going, Derek?
Oh, man, I'm really excited today. This episode is going to be fantastic.
Yeah, and so for the first time ever, Derek, we have our first guest on the Bad Catholic Dads podcast. First ever guest. So it might be either the worst podcast he's ever been on, or it might be okay. We're introducing, of course, co-writer of JackieandBobby.com, co-author of New Book Forever, a daily Catholic devotional for marriage, fellow husband and father, teacher, man of many talents. Please welcome for the first time, Bobby Angel. Yay!
Bobby Angel.
Hi guys. So this may be your first or last podcast with a guest, depending on how this goes. So no pressure.
Yeah, it'll be okay. We'll figure it out as we go. Bobby, how are you doing, man? How's the weather in California? That's the one thing I needed to ask, no matter what.
I feel like I'm always bragging when
Yeah.
I tell people about, it's just like high of 70, low 60, paradise conditions as usual. It sucks.
I mean,
So-
just to be fair, I hope you're getting at least a couple more purgatory hours just for having that nice,
Oh, that's so
nicety
true.
all the time. Do you get mosquitoes out there at all?
It's a cross I carry
Yeah.
every day. So
Right.
I tell people it's like the best of Florida because I'm a Florida boy, born and raised,
Okay.
and it's the best of Florida without the mosquitoes.
Oh my goodness.
Alligators, humidity, and general strange Florida people, which you don't realize, like living in Florida, you're just like, this is part of the deal.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
When you leave the state, you're like, oh wow, we're really weird. Like you realize how the rest of the country, probably the world, looks at Florida like, oh, I understand now.
Right, right.
That's awesome.
So Derek, you want to tell Bobby what
Yeah.
Bad Catholic Dads is all about?
So just for Bobby and all of those new listeners, Bad Catholic Dads is basically just friends just talking and just we're hanging out, and there just happens to be mics in front of us. So we just want to be like a really relaxed time with other Catholic dads and just kind of share a little bit about our life and just in every way that we're trying to get through this Catholic life, struggles and all. We just want to be authentic with it and just sit down and chat. So yeah, we're glad to have another friend right in front of the mics with us. It's just really going to be good. So so Bobby, we're just going to ask briefly, because we're going to go into a couple of these things in a little greater detail, but we're just curious. You told where you're from. We were just really curious on what your job is, how long you've been married, how many kids, just like that brief kind of introduction to who you are and, that life that you're living.
Yeah, for sure. Again, Florida, born and raised, Diocese
Florida?
of St. Pete.
Okay.
Cool. So St. Pete, Tampa area. My vocation story is long and winding, but it ultimately led me out here to California. My wife and I have been married for 3 years, 8 months, 30 days, and 5 hours as of right now.
Nice. There you go.
I have an app on my phone.
Oh, I was
Really?
gonna say, you memorized that? Like, wow.
I know. So,
He's like the best dad
Yeah,
ever and
best husband
man.
ever.
What the
no,
heck?
I have an app on my phone which was a countdown to the wedding, and I never
Oh.
completed it. But
Oh.
now it counts backwards. So I look like
nice.
this amazingly sweet guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Until I show people my phone, and
Yeah.
then like, oh, you're just lazy.
Exactly.
So yeah, we've been married for almost 4 years. We've got two awesome daughters, Abby and Zaylee. And coming from all boys, I have no idea what I'm doing. And to have all girls is funny. I work at my wife, when I moved out here, Jackie and I did an novena to St. Joseph. And on the 9th day, this job at an all boys high school was posted. It opened up.
Awesome.
And somehow the random Florida guy got in. And so it's a hybrid of campus ministry. I do retreats, help with liturgies, counseling some of the boys, as well as teaching. I teach 2 sections of theology for freshmen. God help them. And it's kind of an intro to Catholicism, but with my spin of theology of Marvel and Batman and Lord of the Rings.
Oh yeah,
sprinkled throughout. I don't think I ever left like the 15-year-old mind, even as we mature. Like my brain, I get still pretty giddy about the Marvel universe, and so I feel like that helps relational ministry. It's research, I call it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be terminally immature, I think sometimes is a really good blessing, especially like you're saying, the field that you're working in. I mean, I think Jon and I can relate a lot to that because Jon teaches. I'm the director of youth ministry, so like I think the 3 of us combined, we have a pretty good. We have a good, that's a good Marvel team right there. I think with all the abilities that we have working with these young people, I think that's really fantastic. And I think you're absolutely right. Being relational, with, hey, about like Marvel stuff, about games and, movies. I think that's so helpful to the fields that we're in.
And how much has changed too.
Yeah.
Growing up with the old X-Men cartoon and to watch all this stuff get the big Hollywood treatment is a nostalgia fest. And you kind of like want to sit these boys down. Listen, back in my day,
right?
This was two-dimensional, and we like appreciate what you have here. And it's just funny. And even like the video game stuff of like the stuff we grew up with, Mario Kart and GoldenEye, and now it's like they're just all glued to their phones. Like,
oh yeah.
I don't demonize the video games, but it's a new challenges for sure. And now being a dad and having the perspective of a dad, it's like I have to raise my kids in this culture where they're monkey see, monkey do. And so if they're watching my wife and I on our phones, it's just well, like they know the button, like the button does things. They know like what the YouTube.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's like they're born with it now, It's like a gene that they're born with. It's so crazy.
Yeah. They got it. So Bobby, like those are some topics that we're going to jump in because we love to hear like just other viewpoints from this because Jon and I are some dads that just, love some of that whatever like kind of media video game stuff that is. We want to know, and I'm sure like a lot of viewers, you have like a very interesting like life and vocation story, and we'd really like you to just share some of that about when and how you met your wife, what that team of the angels are like, so if you'd be able to like just share some of that. I know little bits and pieces of it, so I would love to just hear it from the source.
Well, in the beginning.
Yeah,
in the beginning, right? You always knew you wanted to be married, right? Was that the deal? Like,
well, let's go back to the beginning. There was a cold flash of light, the doctor's hands. I was born into the world.
You are amazing. The memory you have, incredible.
Yes, I know. The child with a beard that emerged into the world.
Full beard. Nice.
Taken after Chuck Norris, etc. No. I always thought I would be married, and growing up, cradle Catholic, super involved in the church. Helped out at bingo a lot because my parents did it, like helped out with the bingo, and the kids were dragged along, and so like just the cutthroatness of bingo for like we like lightened the tension, I guess. Right. It was funny. But like altar serve, my dad was an usher, so we like grew up with the church. Like that just was part of the picture. Mass was never optional.
How many siblings do you have?
I have one.
Okay.
Yeah, I have one little brother. 3 years, 2.5, 3 years difference.
Okay.
we were best friends all growing up. He had to be Robin because I was Batman. He had to be Michelangelo because I was
I'm with you
Leonardo.
there, yeah.
Dude, I love
I
it.
was-
The older siblings, man. I
older
love it.
siblings
Yeah.
are awesome.
He knew,
That was me.
He knew the arrangement.
He was roll.
I don't think he's too bitter, but wounds. It had a couple priests be like, in the sacristy be like, you can make a good priest or whatever, and it was just like, sure, whatever. No, like never actually.
Yeah, it seems like a
entertained
normal recruiting tool at that age. Like I'm sure you say that's all the people that you can get someone into the vocations with. Yeah.
Yeah, and just water off the back. I'm like, yeah, no, not me. Like, I really like girls, like a lot. Like, it's not gonna work. And in high school, got involved in a really good youth group, and that opened my eyes. Eventually, had when I was 18, went to a Steubenville conference that destroyed me, and there was just no going back to.
Nice. Like complete sobbing.
Oh, dude, gift of tears,
Oh.
and people are like laughing around me. People speaking in tongues, and I'm like crying like a baby.
Yeah.
It was like years of lukewarmness, just like all of a sudden come pouring out of me, and you can't go back. Like your life, you literally cannot go back to life before that. And I knew I was in. And so college was a time of super involved in campus ministry, and in the college campus ministry, and
Where'd you go to college,
just learning
Bobby?
about my faith for like the first time, like actually like learning it and wanting to learn it and be immersed in it. And that's when I first started thinking maybe the priesthood, like maybe actually.
Sure.
And I went on a like a come and see weekend down in Miami for the minor seminary. Yes, the seminary is in Miami, which is part of the testing grounds, I say, for chastity.
Right on Miami Beach, there's like seminary.
Miami Seminary.
Oh my goodness.
So
That's awesome.
it's really like this. It was just this thing I could not put into words, and I feel like I meet a lot of young adults that are being called, and they can't put it to words. I can tell they're fighting it because I fought it for years, like trying to do the college thing, but knowing God is calling me to more, and it really felt like Christ calling me to the priesthood, this journey of the priesthood. And so I relented after college. I ran away for a little bit. I worked as a firefighter for a couple years.
Oh wow.
And my grandfather was a retired firefighter from New York. My uncle too. So there was kind of like a family history of it, and never actually seriously thought about it until as college is wrapping up. I was like, you know what? I'll do this because I'll be helping others. I'll lay my life down for people, but I'll be able to have kids and make babies, and God will be happy. Like it was really trying to bargain with God. Like, look, I'll do this if you get off my back, kind of like.
Yeah.
And realized quickly it's a noble profession, but it was not what I was called to do. And so I had to make the hard choice of leaving and entered the seminary and did 3 years. Because like you speak of it like you're in prison. Like I did 3 years. That's how long I was in. How long were you in for?
Right.
I did 2 years of pre-theology and 1 year at the major. And, and it took it year by year, man.
Yeah.
Because it's you're surrounded by other guys asking the same questions, and really kicked my butt in a good way of just getting over little narcissisms, little like selfish tendencies. You're living in community. So even the guys you like start to rub on you after a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Especially coming as a young adult, post-college, you're used to going to bed whenever you want, like all these freedoms, and all of a sudden there's a curfew. And there may be a uniform, and you're like, oh dear God, what am I doing?
Yeah. Well, Bobby, I was going to ask, like, for your spiritual life, I'm sure did that just expand and explode, or did you kind of just gain some new knowledge there, or what was that like in seminary?
Yeah, where I went was blessed to do my pre-theology again in Miami, 1 year at the major at Boynton Beach, which is why West Palm. I feel like I had really good. John Paul talked about like the 4 pillars of priestly formation being human, pastoral, spiritual, and intellectual. And I feel like Florida had a pretty good balance of all 4. Like every seminary experience is going to be different. So when people ask me, it's hard to tell like, oh, well, seminary is going to be like this because it's going to be different in Northeast versus out here versus in the Midwest.
Right.
But I feel like kind of like this John Paul II era, like they're really for the most part. I think healthier places where it is a balance that's being emphasized. It's not just, do you know your Aquinas backwards and forwards? It's like, are you a good human being? Like, are you a man that people can come up to after to mass? Are you going to be hiding in your rectory for hours on end?
Mm-hmm.
And so all those kind of little things having to interiorize and get over certain things and pray sincerely, like pray earnestly, and let go of what I thought my life was going to be, my idea of a wife, my idea of a job, etc. Like, to be like, okay, Christ, like, if you are calling me to this, okay. And it took, like, there's times where you're kicking and screaming and times where you're totally at peace, and that's the ups and downs of the spiritual life. And I just was like, all right, God, you got me for a year, and at the end of the year I'll assess. And that's kind of how I went. And in the third year was really like, I'm really feeling called to marriage. I had a really good spiritual director that helped me work through that. And as I leave, I re-meet a friend of mine who ends up being the woman I'm called to marry. And,
wow.
And it was at a theology of the body retreat. In Pennsylvania, they offer these week-long courses, these immersion courses through the Theology of the Body Institute. And even just all the little things that went into like me running away from the seminary allowed it, delaying that to, the rector brought in Christopher West to speak to us.
No,
like,
okay.
I would have missed that if I entered right away or if I had entered later, and he happened to talk about these courses that there was like a Holy Spirit just like burning in my heart. Like, I'm supposed to do this. I can't put it to words.
Yeah.
Like, I'm supposed to do this. And lo and behold, it's these weeks where I meet, the woman who will be my wife. Like, my vocation story is wrapped up in this story of like running from God and yet surrendering, and the providential timing. Like, you can't.
Yeah.
It hurts my head. Like, the time.
Because it's like the finish line was right there after those 3 years.
Yeah, but
like,
I mean, when you're in it and you have no idea.
Yeah, you have no idea that is. And looking back, though, you see it. Yeah.
Yeah, I have great mercy and compassion for all those who, like, in the midst of the vocation questions and discerning and what does God want for me? Because I was there for years. I feel like half of my 20s were in that limbo kind of feeling. I really got to a point of like, Christ, I just want to be a father.
Right.
If it's a spiritual father, okay.
Sure.
And if it's a biological father, you got to show me.
Right. And it's pretty crazy. And I know some of your story from your website and everything, just reading. But it's pretty crazy how God used those moments too of like you guys being there, because you had to travel to Pennsylvania, right, and to be in that theology of the body thing, right?
Yeah, and there's courses all year long. I mean, we could have easily gone to different courses,
right,
or
exactly.
You go to one and we may never overlap again. So again, God's providence hurts my head.
Yeah. I'm with you right there. And you
about.
guys never met until theology of the body, or?
Yeah, no, she was a California girl.
Okay.
And again, had I tried to live life by the way I thought it should go, I likely could have never left Florida.
Right.
Yeah, which I was fine with, but it's just amazing what God has in store when you finally cooperate.
Yeah.
And to kind of bring it to like what your podcast is all about, I am a better husband and father because of my time in seminary than I ever would have been without.
Sure.
Some guys tell me like, do you feel like you wasted years or you lost some years? And I said, absolutely not.
Oh, yeah.
Having that time of serious prayer, focused time in community. Some of these guys are my closest friends to this day. They came out for my wedding. One of my classmates baptized my second daughter. That's just cool. What a gift. And some priest friends will travel out here to take a little like vacation. They stay at our house, and it's just wild. Like, one of the coolest things was at the diaconate ordination. I went back. They invited me to lector for it. That was a great honor.
Oh wow. And
I'm in the cry room. I did lector. I did my thing, and then I had to take my my little Abigail back to the cry room because she was fussing. And when all my classmates were face down on the altar, they were lying prostrate, vowing themselves. Yeah. I'm in the cry room bouncing my kid. Like, that could have been me. But it was such a moment of like peace.
Yeah.
we all ended up where we were supposed to.
Yeah, no, that is really profound to like have that visual. That is a really amazing thing. You're holding your daughter and they're lying prostrate, and honoring God. That is really, and it's in that moment where you're like, whoa, this is a big deal. When you recognize it, that's a big thing too. When you can see that, that's really awesome, man. So tell us a little bit about meeting this significant other of yours. Who is this person? So she comes from California. Is she just a normal like California girl? My wife is from California. She's from Bakersfield. And
Nice.
who is this person that you met?
So I met a girl named Jackie. Didn't realize she was somebody in like the Catholic world,
Really?
which helped.
So like,
which helped. We just were like, could just be friends. There wasn't like,
right.
and usually it's mostly girls. Let's be honest, that kind of fangirl.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it's and then was like, whoa. I was just happy like a pretty girl was talking to me as a seminarian, and so.
Right.
But Jackie's a traveling worship leader, speaker. She's done a lot of Steubenville conferences and really just has a gift of preaching. We're both products of youth ministry, so we both have that passion
Nice.
to give back to it. So it was just pretty wild how, and this love of John Paul II and his vision for human love brought us together was just very providential. So it's been a gift to be able to kind of like join with our forces combined, join our ministries together.
Right.
Here.
Yeah.
Exactly. So kind of fast forwarding now, you guys are obviously married, have a couple kids together. And she's still doing the whole Catholic speaker musician thing, right? Of course.
Yeah. It's like 2 or 3 times a month. Sometimes I'll go with her.
Right.
But yeah, she, to the extent that we can without overextending ourselves and
Right.
putting family first and all that, like she will still travel. And
Right.
again, I want her to do it as long as she feels called to do it. Because I do think that's a like vocation of sorts.
Sure.
Like it's bearing a lot of fruit. So I don't want her to stop it
Right.
unless she's done or God says otherwise.
Well, what's
go
interesting
ahead.
too is because she was out here for the Diocese of Arlington at one point speaking. I can't remember if it was a high school or middle school like event, and that was like the first time I had seen her on a speaking circuit, and the kids were really responsive to her, and she was doing a good job where we would hear our teens talking about her later, and she's definitely still super effective, and she's doing a great job because at least hearing from the teens, like as an adult listening as a leader, I was like, yeah, she's really awesome, and like she's so on fire with stuff. So I know personally as an outsider seeing that, like she's doing a fantastic job, and it's awesome that you are there to support her in that way. What is it like for you to be married to a Catholic speaker musician? You talked about like with your forces combined and sometimes you travel, like do you find that your vocation together has helped her in her ministry?
Oh yeah, she loves it when we can both speak together, because sometimes I'll go with her and we'll talk together. I'll talk to the guys after, she'll talk to the girls or stuff like that.
Sure.
And it's a great gift because we're different temperaments. She's extrovert, I'm a little more introvert. She's the cheerleader, I'm a little more Ron Swanson type. And so you get the male female dynamic. We have different stories of in chastity, different journeys there. So people see like, if you screwed up, there's still hope. But if you're a virgin, like you can be a virgin till your wedding day and you won't spontaneously combust.
Sure.
Like,
Sure.
You can make it.
here she is, like she did it. So that dual witness is a gift for sure.
Right. Right.
And it's I consider myself a pretty humble guy, the most humble man I know.
The best.
But it's just, it is funny to be married to someone who's a little more high profile. And I have colleagues at work that will call me Bobby Francois or
Yes.
or Mr. Francois.
Yeah.
One time. And one time it was or Mr. Jackie.
Oh my
That's-
God.
Mr. Jackie.
Nice.
Very good.
And
But
so
one time I spoke at an event on my own, and the check was made out. It's different in
Oh, no
writing
way.
when the check's made out to Bobby Francois.
oh no way.
That I just stared at it,
Aw.
just started laughing.
That's
Like,
so
all right,
funny.
God, you are funny.
Right. Exactly. So
So
your
humility.
wife travels and everything. How do you find the balance between I guess your married life, Jackie's professional life, family, like, do you get the kids while she's traveling? I know you said that you travel with her sometimes, but how do you find the balance, between your married life, but also kind of her, professional Catholic speaking life?
Sure. It's the kids change everything, man.
Yeah.
Like
No.
all the little freedoms you had,
Oh,
all of a
my
sudden you have
goodness.
these little tyrants that dictate everything, and
100%.
they're really easy to travel when they're little, like year like 0 to 8 months, but then they start getting squirrely. And so when they're under 1, Jackie will take them with while they're nursing. But now as they're multiplying, we're having to like figure it out, like the shuffle of it. Because sometimes she'll go solo and I'll be super dad, try to keep the kids alive. Or Jackie's mom is local and she's an all-star with being able to watch the kids, and so try to make the trips quick, like red eye out, do what we can, come back, so we're not away from our kids too long. Because there's the tension too of like as soon as you set foot out the door, you miss them.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You're doing good work. You're evangelizing, and even like having to come to work, there's always this pull as my 2-year-old waves goodbye to me at the doorstop. It's just things like that. It's like, but you're doing something for them.
Now, I'm just curious, Bobby, like, do you have, my wife and I are both in youth ministry, and so our, nights are just chaos because we have the 3 kids, we have the 4th on the way. And do you ever feel like, yeah, thank you. Do you ever feel like you need to have your ministry separate from your family, or do you feel like that is always like a part of it and you're thankful for how closely they're intertwined? Like some people say, like, leave work at the office. At least for me and Bethany as youth ministry, it feels like sometimes we can't do that because our lives being Catholic, it's always integrated. Do you feel like with this whole, the speaking tour, you going to help talk to, is there ever a time where you feel like we need to separate work from our family, or is it just hand in hand?
Yeah, and I think that depends on each couple, because it's like, what is prudent to share with the world?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Because people get excited. I think it's good to witness like your marriage and your kids and be like happy and joyful. Like people need to see like marriage is not a burden. It's not a ball and chain. Like it gives you life. Like kids are good. Like you were a kid once, believe it or not. Like you were a baby once, and they demand a lot of you, but this is how you learn to love. Like I feel like a lot of the theory I was learning in seminary has been put into practice with an actual baby, of like self-gift, self-donation. It's like, here it is, live it out. And so it's kind of like balancing what is prudent to share with the world. Like we don't need to post everything about our kids. We know there's kind of there has to be a prudence there.
Mm-hmm.
Of people are entitled to know everything.
Yeah. And that being said, a follow-up with that, like, is there times on the speaking tour where you guys like kind of not roast each other on stage, because you get a good reaction when teens or other people listening to you, if you give an authentic representation, is sometimes marriage isn't perfect. Is there times where you or Jackie will say something and you're like, oh my gosh, she actually said that? Like where you're like, you get to reflect on it later. Does that happen with you guys? Or do you kind of have it planned out of what you're going to say?
We have it kind of planned out, but I feel like we always leave room for the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
Like middle school dance style. We leave room for the Holy Spirit. We leave room for the Spirit to interrupt. And we say things maybe we never say before. We poke fun at each other, which it's kind of like, people love watching Chip and Joanna Gaines for that Fixer Upper show, because there you see the loving back and forthness. They poke fun at each other. So we allow for that. I'll make faces behind her back on stage, and she'll wonder why people are laughing. And so there's like, let them see, like, it's not all seriousness. There should be a play to it. But the work I do at the school, also Jackie comes around, she brings the kids around, she'll bring the kids on the retreats I'll work. And so the boys at the school I work also get to see, like, here's my family.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great witness too of, again, in these formative years they're going through, high school, pre-college, to embrace family with joy. And it's not like I keep it separate from who I am. Like as a Catholic man, like I do work at a school where I'm blessed that they will like allow my family to come around or come on retreats, and they want to see that, and they want the boys to see that.
Yeah.
They're not like, no, your kids can't be here. Like be professional.
No, exactly, because that's what I mean. Hopeful end goal for most of these young men is hopefully meeting a good Catholic woman, and having their family where they can they have some idea of what a role model is going to be. Now, with that, you started. Now you guys are writing a book. Is this true? You have a book that's out? Is it?
We have a book that is done, and it should be out this late summer, like September 1st, I think, may be the date. And it's a marriage devotional that if you are seriously dating, if you are engaged, if you've been married 10 years,
Sure.
there's something you can get out of it. And it's like a 6-week, like a short daily reflection that takes you through the Catholic teaching on marriage, John Paul's vision of human love and the theology of the body. We throw some of C.S. Lewis's The Four Loves in there, some of Fulton Sheen's insights. And yeah, we're proud of it. I had to read through it again to do some final edits, and there are so many moments where I don't remember writing that. Like, whoa, did I write that?
Yeah,
or what?
exactly.
And like, there's no, like God has taken over.
Definitely. Well, I was going to ask, like, what was it like to write a book? Can you just take us through the process of writing the book? I mean, with your wife, of course. When did you guys write it? What was the journey like? Did you guys have to take turns watching the kids? One writes, and you know what I mean? Stuff like that. Like, what was the process of kind of writing the book there with your wife?
Yeah, I appreciate the questions because, Jackie's a musician. I consider myself a writer or wannabe writer. And so I wrote my first book when I was 7 or 6, and it was on the dinosaurs and how they died. And I illustrated it. There was a meteor and everything. It was awesome.
Dinosaurs were my favorite thing as a kid, man. We would have been good friends back then. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I drew so many picture books with that too. Man.
Every career day I came as a paleontologist, and I was the straight up nerd. And they're like, my classmates were like, what? I'm like, dinosaur guy. I'm like, oh.
Sure.
And then Jurassic Park came out, and then I was the cool guy.
Dude, Jurassic Park, when that thing came out, I was like, I know what my job, I gotta be a scientist. I gotta find this amber, and I have to get this dinosaur DNA. I knew when that movie came out, I'm like, I know what I want to do with my life.
I found my vocation.
It was right there. Thank you, Spielberg.
Thank you,
Goldblum. So I mean, did you see Jackie, like with both of your writing skills, did you find like it was easier or harder, like in this writing, like working together?
Both. Writing is tough, and then writing with someone and writing with your spouse. And I think it depends on your temperaments and all sorts of other factors. She's pretty easygoing, and I'm definitely the neurotic writer where, like, as a recovering perfectionist, like, I won't write unless it's perfect. And that's really stifling. Like, you have to just be okay with the sloppy copy, rough draft. It's going to be ugly. That's what the editing process is for. So Jackie was really good about just like, bleh, like just word vomit, just write write and don't worry about it. Like, this is like, that's not what the first, so it really took like 7-8 months to write the thing. Of just kind of, kids go to bed, we devote an hour or some change to writing a little bit each day. Sometimes it would be gold, sometimes it would be junk, but you just do it anyway. And then still allowing some time to be a couple and veg on Netflix and, and then a year's worth of, believe it or not, it was like a year's worth of like the editing process, which was like 3 or 4 rounds of back and forth. And the design process, and now it's finally coming to fruition. And I was rereading it and just again really feeling like this is, I really pray this is going to bless a lot of couples. Just because there's little daily challenges to do with your spouse at the end of each day and daily prayers to do together. So hopefully it sparks conversation and maybe a good resource for marriage prep or bring a couple back to the faith. I don't know. Like, I just feel like God's gonna.
When Well,
use it.
when you guys wrote the book, or when, as you know, in the pre-stages of writing the book, did you guys have a certain thing in mind, or were you kind of like, let's just write this book and, you know, have it be a devotional for married couples? Or did you guys more have like a plan of, let's have questions in there, let's have challenges, prayers, stuff like that? Like, what was kind of the thought process of the idea? Like, where did the idea of the book come from, and was it all planned, you know?
Yeah, it was funny because I have been feeling this tug to write a book, and I also fall so much to the sin of comparison. Like, I'll read Fulton Sheen or Weigel or some of these other just stupidly brilliant men and great writers, and you put the book down, you're like, well, I can't do that. Like, or you read, I don't know, you read Christopher West stuff, or you just read and it's like, what else could be said? Like, it's all been said, it's all out there. We don't need another guy saying it again. And just getting over that, like, yeah, but it's all been said before. Like, there's nothing new under the sun, and we have to say it anew for a new generation. Like, the people we meet may never read Fulton Sheen or be able to even understand what John Paul the heck he's writing about, because he's tough.
Yeah.
But maybe they'll read me, and I can pass them on to, well, you should really read this guy, and then maybe even read the Bible. Go figure. Like,
sure.
I don't know. Like, and so that responsibility and realizing, like, you know, if it's 10 people or 1,000 people, we got to write this thing. And as we're praying through this, we get contacted by Pauline Books and Media to do this, to do like a marriage devotional. And so it just really was like, wow, like, Holy Spirit, when you're open, stuff starts happening. And it was actually a sister that she was taking classes with us in the minor seminary when I was in Miami, who was keeping tabs on me and the journey, and was reading some of our blog stuff. And she's like, this couple would be pretty good for this project. Wow. So again, even in the random wanderings and the quote, random people we meet, like, God is orchestrating something.
So you guys were already thinking about it, praying about it, and then Pauline Books just hit you up for it?
Yeah, like, you up for it? Here's the structure we'd like. Yeah, and wanted it to be diverse with questions and prayers, and, you know, like the modern attention span, which is like over 500 words. We're like, oh no, I don't have time for this. Like, be mindful of that. And so it really kind of, they alley-ooped it to us, and we were like, let's
slam dunk it. Yeah.
Very nice.
So with that writing process, I would assume, like, there's different things that you learn, because I think part of this journey of writing this with your wife, like, it had its own way that either brought you guys closer together, or you learned something about each other in the process of writing this book, because we don't know what the outcome is, how people are going to receive this book. But during the writing process, did you find that you and your wife learned about each other? Was it like a stressful situation where you wouldn't do it again? Or did it bring like a new awareness of each other? Like, what were some of like the positive things you got for your relationship doing a project so intimately together, where it's both of your thought processes as one coming out in, you know, one book? If you can, just expand just a little bit about what you learned about each other in that process.
It definitely didn't tear us apart. That's for sure. Like, there's moments where maybe you don't agree on a wording or a particular edit, but it really brought us more together in the sense of, we're writing this, we really got to live this out. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the response, like, you have couples that they come back to the church, or they read theology of the body, or they learn it, and they're like, where was this teaching, like, our whole lives? Like, where was this? But better that they get it when they receive it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're have the responsibility of starting a marriage on this. So it does feel like the stakes are a little higher, and like, you guys got to live it out. You got to witness it. And then especially writing about it, it's like, we have to make sure we're doing this. And so it did force us to take our prayer a little more seriously. That can easily become routine, or you're just exhausted with the kids. So you just do, like, you know, 20-second prayer before you fall asleep, slobbering on the couch, like, just like out. Sure. 5 minutes into Chef's Table or whatever you're watching.
Yeah.
It's really like, let's actually prioritize prayer before we get so exhausted. You know, and reading Saint Therese or Fulton Sheen, and you see this common thread of, they all remember their families doing the rosary together. And it just seems like that's a pretty good common denominator for like probability your kids may be saintly. So trying to do that together or in front of like our 2-year-old, even if she's running circles around us, at least do a decade to like get her to start seeing this is important. This is what we do.
Yeah. Well, and that's like, I kind of, because we're talking about your book writing, and we kind of want to jump into just some of your blogs that you do. And I think some of the stuff that you're quoting there was from your Praying Like Men. I think one of your blogs about
yeah, Bobby.
that.
So JackieandBobby.com. That's like your guys' blog, right? Like you guys do that blog together. Or is that still active to this day? Or can you kind of, for the listener who doesn't know, what is JackieandBobby.com?
So yeah, we started this website. I think it was like kind of a quasi like our wedding website lead up that just became the permanent ministry website. She has her own that she gets updated here and there, but that's our primary one where her Instagram and her Twitter goes up, and we alternate on blogs, or we share podcasts or videos maybe we've done. So that's, we're a team of 2. So there's no like other media team.
Right.
So it sometimes it goes into hibernation for like 2 months just because life is going and we're tired. And then we're like, right now we're kind of in a creative spurt. So we're trying to get something out there once a week.
Sure. Did you,
and just kind of reflections. Maybe they're on movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like we late to the Moana train, but oh my gosh, that rocked me. And I thought it was amazing. And vocation is like spilling out all over that film. And so I had to write about it. And, that was fun to do. And Jackie likes to write about love and relationship, dating, boring stuff.
Did you guys find, right? Did you guys find like all this like preparing? Because I'm sure you've always been kind of a writer, but just being on that blog and writing through there help you guys write the book, or was it just kind of like not, together on that one?
Yeah, it's funny because sometimes we think, well, I'm not going to get started on this project unless it's a more concrete, or it's definite, like, I don't know. It's, when it's like, no, like start doing what you enjoy. So like, just start writing. If it's for just like write for yourself, first of all, and then, stuff will come later, but you got to start, like, you got to start doing the little things. Like people often ask my wife, like, how did you get to be where you are? And it's like, there's no American Idol of Steubenville conferences. Like,
hey, there's a $1 million idea right there. Let's get that going. So Bobby, I pulled a couple of your articles that I really enjoyed. That I think the listener could enjoy. The first article I pulled was Star Wars Rogue One. You wrote kind of a Star Wars Rogue One article and kind of seeing the correlation between the saints, which I think is really cool. Do you remember that one?
Oh my gosh. So yeah, and Silence came out around the same time, and Bishop Barron did an amazing article on Silence, and I was like, well, I'm not taking that one. I'll take Rogue One.
Nice.
And not that I'm on speaking terms with Bishop Barron at all.
Sure.
Yet.
Yeah.
Goals. But I just saw it, like, I loved the movie. I loved how visceral it was, and how you see like the hidden heroes that, in this world, the saints that, will never be recognized, but they have all done their part to just pass the baton on to the next generation. All the quiet, church workers, all the quiet people that aren't looking for attention or fame, the people that, have gone to their death, and how for this greater cause, like, and for the Christian, I feel like the parallels are very easy to see within Rogue One.
Sure. Well,
they're not out there on the stage. They are just living their life. They're doing the little parts for the cause.
I think it's so important that there's Catholic men out there willing to make that correlation with the two, because I'm just surprised at how many times when I'm speaking to high schoolers, they don't see a connection of something that's not like in your face. Like with Silence, it's like, oh, I know, you can see like these are priests. These are some of the struggles. These are like the martyrs and the apostatizers. Like, it's so cool that you're willing to go into that medium and like make the connections with Rogue One. Because I mean, there's just certain ones where the discussions you can have about these current secular movies that have all these Christ imagery, like we were talking about Kung Fu Panda 3 has an amazing thing about the communion of saints and stuff that St. Francis de Sales, speaks of. And I think it's really important that, the youth of these days they can make those connections with things that they love in the world. Like if they love certain things in the world, they're going to love Christ and what he does for the church. And to see that combination is like, I don't know, really awesome. I'm glad to see, people like you, like writing and like, talking about these things. It's really awesome.
I think I read recently, I'm pretty sure it's Bishop Barron. He said something like, we have to get better at telling our own story.
Mm-hmm.
If they are going like, find the good in Star Wars and in Marvel and Kung Fu Panda for sure. Like, and point to, if you think this is cool, let me tell you about what God has done, like
Sure.
in
Mm-hmm.
real life. As cool as this stuff is, guess what has actually happened in the world? And so you look back at Tolkien and Lewis and how like they appreciated and understood the story. Like
Mm-hmm.
stories are important. We love stories. We're drawn to them. And I really try to get the freshmen I teach thinking and seeing movies with that theological lens on. Like, go underneath the entertainment. Sometimes there's good, sometimes there's not so good.
Yeah.
But be discerning and affirm where there is truth, not just the culture is evil and
Mhm.
bad and great. There's plenty of challenges, especially as a dad, looking at how am I going to raise a family, and the world is and the agendas that are being pushed. But to know like, but Rogue One's got like, for instance, it's just got a lot of good stuff to chew on.
And like the way you made that connection with like the saints and the unknown saints, like, do you have any favorite saints of your own that you're like, this is totally someone that fits right into my devotion schedule? Like, this is a person that's spot on. Do you have some favorite saints?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, John Paul II, like he was a spiritual grandfather to me. I never knew the guy, but the first 20 years of my life, I grew up with him,
Mm-hmm.
and halfway around the world. And when he died, like I was a sophomore in college, and I was like crying in my dorm room, like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
watching the TV, watching the live footage, like, and to know, like, I really believe his intercession has had a direct part on my vocation, on my journey. Padre Pio follows me around. That guy's a dude. Maximilian Kolbe, his story, I always share with the freshmen because his feast day falls early in August or like mid-August, or I can't remember. It like, kind of like he's the patron saint for the year of like, here's a dude. He's got an amazing beard. He's got an amazing story. Like, this is lived Christianity. It's not a fluffy pie in the sky thing. Like, it gets dark. It gets gritty.
Yeah.
Especially in an all male environment. Like, they need to see these manly saints.
Mhm.
And the last I'll say, really, I've fallen in love with is the parents of Saint Therese, Louis and Zélie Martin.
Okay. Yeah.
We named our second daughter Zélie after her.
I was
okay.
wondering. Okay.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, the mother of Saint Therese, who were canonized saints. The church canonized them together like last year. The first time a married couple has ever been canonized at the same time.
That's awesome.
Wow.
And just in a time when marriage and the understanding of marriage is so warped
Sure.
and just pushed to the side, like for the church to elevate this couple that were different temperaments, had their different challenges, had to learn how to love, were just saintly examples. Like, it's not because their kids were holy that their church is like, yeah, let's make them saints too. It's like, no, like these two, like they loved each other in a deep way and led each other to Christ. He's a really good book I read. It's called The Extraordinary Parents of Saint Therese. It's a pink book, but it gives you a really good, just details of them and their life. And I'm like in tears as I'm finishing it up because she died.
Nice.
She died, early on, and Therese was like in the convent, like she couldn't leave when her dad was like,
Oh man.
going downhill and mentally, and had to be put in an asylum. But he wasn't like crazy, but everyone thought he was. And so like all the suffering he went through, and she couldn't do anything about it. So really like how that propelled her holiness, because she couldn't
Definitely.
do anything for her dad.
Mhm.
Oh my god! Like, and now having daughters, like
Oh, I'm
just a
sure.
wreck.
It makes you, yeah, having daughters, it's that making you kind of weaker at the same time you feel stronger. Yeah, like before my daughters were born, I would have never cried at Moana, and now here I am sobbing for it. So they bring a different quality to your life for sure. I don't know, Bobby, if you got to see it. We did a Saint draft where in honor of the NFL draft that was going on, Jon and I, we took turns drafting Saints. And lately we've been getting on Twitter and Facebook trying to figure out who won this thing. Of course, it's a friendly like little game because I mean you can't lose with these Saints. But we were just saying which ones we can put up on our team. Each one had 10, and we were just trying to figure out who won. And I don't know if you got a chance to look at it.
No, I didn't get to see it.
See, we would love to send that to you just so we can get your opinion on it.
Well, do you have it with you, Derek?
I think so. If I bring it up, I was listening to some of the Saints he was mentioning, and I think I had two of the ones he mentioned. I think you had one of them, right?
Dude, I'll tell you, you had a really good team.
I'm gonna try to bring this up. Yeah, what we did is we alternated picks and
just kind of a fun episode we did because the NFL draft was happening. We were like, well, let's do a fantasy Saints draft, and it was really fun. So if we can get your vote, Bobby.
We'd like your opinion. So we'll read the squads back and forth. We'll do the whole squad here. All right, here we go. So Team A. Well, yeah, we'll go with Team A first, and this is the first team. We have Saint John Paul the Great, Saint Michael the Archangel, Saint Mother Teresa of Calcutta, Saint Francis of Assisi, Saint John Bosco, Saint Nicholas, Saint John the Baptist, Saint Paul, Saint Padre Pio, and Saint Cecilia. So that's like the first squad. The second squad is
that's pretty stacked, I'll tell you that.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, well, it's so funny when you're going through these saints. I mean, there's so many that didn't get picked. You feel bad. It's like, but here we go. Second squad is Saint Peter, Saint Ignatius, Saint Maximilian Kolbe, Saint Augustine, Blessed Chiara, Saint Thomas Aquinas, Saint John the Beloved, Saint Anthony of Padua, Saint Luke, and Saint Lorenzo Ruiz. So those were the two squads that were picked out of and there were so many that were left off the list. We were heartbroken, but it had to happen. So if you had,
they're doing like rugby against each other, or just like football?
No, I think what the objective was is which squad is going to get you to heaven. Probably like it's going to help you the most. It's going to be like the saintly squad. Yeah, it's definitely not arm wrestling or whatever. So it's just a fun heavenly wager. Who's going to help you the best get to heaven? So, yeah. So I'll just run through them quick. St. John Paul.
I feel like B's got some fiery people, but A's got a lot of people that have been formative for me. So I would go squad A.
There you go, Derek. Nice.
So it's I mean that's the cool thing with Saints. It's really subjective to like what is really moving in your life. So yeah, we were curious. We wanted to get that going in there. John, should we jump into some of the fun questions here?
Yeah, let's do it. So we had some we got some questions online. People tweeted at us and stuff like that. So kind of wrapping it up, kind of some rapid fire questions
Sure.
that we have for you. Do you want to go with yours, Derek?
Well, yeah. Let me just ask a real quick couple questions. Was it hard for you to choose your daughter's names?
No, it was hard for my wife to relent because I found myself surprisingly convicted. I really was praying about it, and we're going through a name book, and it was just in this God moment, I see Abigail. It means source of the Father's joy.
Oh my goodness, that's awesome.
Abba, in Abby, and I'm just that's her name. Her name's Abigail. And she's well, what about this? Because she saw it on some trendy hipster thing.
Oh my goodness.
I was I don't care. Her name's Abby.
Sure.
It was I discovered it, and I wasn't trying to be stubborn, and I couldn't convince her I wasn't being stubborn. And then same kind of thing with Zaylee, a name neither of us thought we would ever pick, and she was oh, this is the Catholic hipster name, but we had.
It's a good one, man, because I don't hear many people with that one. That's really good.
Well, we had several God moments leading up to it, and her birth, and so she was okay, fine, that's her name, and A to Z. They're both very. There you go. Both very different, but very cool. Cute.
Do you find out the gender of your children when they get born?
We always thought we'd be surprised, but a friend made a very good pro-life argument for finding out, and I think
I want to hear this.
Well, to each couple is their own, but we were we were convicted by a friend who said, when we go to the ultrasound, we want to be able to start praying for him or her, not it.
Sure.
Like we want to.
That's true.
It's less about the room color and the color of the clothes. We want to be able to pray for him. Let's pray for her. Like, let's just not it. So we were convicted by that.
Yeah. No, that's a really good, solid thing. I mean, to know specifically, who this person is going to be, and you can start preparing for them like that. That's really cool. How has it been for you to watch your wife transition to motherhood? We just recently had our Mother's Day episode where we kind of spoke on this, and we were curious about your opinion on this, like seeing your wife transition from, this is the woman I love and I met, to all of a sudden it's a new thing that you're not used to, is having children thrown there. How has that been, watching your wife transition from wife to mother?
I find her even more beautiful, and I am not just saying it. And she
a lot of
thinks
women
I'm
who
just
just
trying
who
to
are
butter
listening to
her
this
up.
podcast just went,
But it's
"Aw."
honestly, like, you see the woman you love, God willing, the child comes to term and is born, and you see like this transformation in this new way, and part you, part her, part breathed in by God, and how she looks at her body and it's like she sees stretch marks. She's never going to be the same, blah, blah, blah. And like, you men, you have it so easy, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, we suffer. We don't really suffer. Let's be honest.
No, we don't.
It just, I see so much beauty in her, and what, like, it's really, a priest made the connection once, like with Christ in the mass, like, this is my body given up for you. And I look at my wife, like, this is her body given up for our children.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I am just kind of blown away by what the female body is capable of, and how we give so little to the equation.
Yeah. No, and I think as you go from this transition, when your child is born, all of a sudden you become so aware of how powerful women are, because when you see that child being born, you're like, oh man, that's a world of pain I never want to enter into. And my wife, I have so much respect for. So like, we totally hear you on that. I think like a lot of dads can totally relate to that. Before we get in the rapid fire questions, John, actually this is part of one, I would think. Do you have, because you mentioned it, favorite video game? Do you have like a top three? I know it's hard to pick a top one, but do you have like a favorite one?
Oh man. Anytime I can shoot zombies with my brother,
Amen.
Be that in Resident Evil, or any other mode, it's a good day. For Super Nintendo days, there's an old RPG called Chrono Trigger.
Oh yes, yeah.
That
nice.
I was listening to an orchestrated soundtrack of like the old MIDI stuff, and I'm like tearing up, like, this is so beautiful. Like, oh my gosh, like, there's like the BioShock games that have these like philosophical things going on, and just they're beautiful. And I haven't touched a game in like sadly like,
oh my gosh,
too long now, because I have time, and I'm okay with it. There was kind of a mourning period where I had to start letting go of like the game habit. But you see, like, this is the cross, and it's not just about me and my entertainment. This is about me being present to my family.
Oh, I'm with you there. All right, so let's get into some rapid fire questions. If you didn't teach, what would you do other than write a book?
I would be an Alaskan king crab fisherman.
Nice. I love it. What has been the hardest part of fatherhood so far?
Lack of introverted me time.
What
again, I have a good wife. I have an amazing wife that allows like you go read for an hour downstairs, or you like go do your thing. So I get back on kilter. Nice. But that kind of like the amount of me time you have, how that is diminished, and being joyful about it.
Sure.
Like trying, like praying for joy, like, Lord help me to not be a curmudgeon about this. Like, that's my biggest cross.
What are you really bad at that not a lot of people know?
What am I really bad at? Oh, any kind of hand-eye coordination. I say anything. I say this in all boys school. I say anything with balls, I'm really bad at.
Okay. So juggling, you can't, no juggling?
No, like I can funny enough juggle, but like baseball, football, soccer, anything that involves like catching a ball, I suck at. I'm pretty athletic. Like I like when it comes to like lifting or triathlons or like getting from point A to point B, I can do quickly.
Yeah.
But like don't throw a ball at me or I will drop it
Sure.
10 out of 10 times.
Next one. Funniest, weirdest, most absurd, best thing you've ever read about yourself on the internet.
I try not to Google myself, believe it or not. So I don't really know what's out there. But there is a country artist named Bobby Angel.
I saw it, dude. When I looked you up, I saw that, and he was like, "Yeah."
That my students love when they find that, and
they're like, "Sing a song for us. Sing a song."
Yeah.
Well, I changed my like the Moodle like profile picture of me to that for a little while, just to mess with them, make them think.
Secret talent not a lot of people know about. Drumming. I don't know.
I am kind of a closet musician. Like a lot of I think I would have been a good percussionist, but no one gave me a drum kit early enough. I just had pots and pans, and people get really surprised when I see me like pick up a guitar and do some like stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
Because I'm always surrounded by better musicians. Or if Jackie's doing her thing, I'm the one
Sure.
holding the baby
Sure.
or manning the t-shirt booth.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's kind of a nice little secret.
Favorite book? You've mentioned some writings. Favorite book?
Oh man,
Here we go.
how do you pick one?
How do you? Yeah.
Just off the top of my head, Joseph Pierce is a fantastic biographer, and he wrote a book called C.S. Lewis and the Catholic Church, and I devoured it in like 2 days.
Nice.
And it's just all about, it's a Catholic perspective on C.S. Lewis and his journey of faith and how Catholic he was in so much of his thought, but how he had this deep anti-Catholic bias that he could never overcome, even to his dying day. And he's just a really good writer, and I've read a bunch of other stuff by him, so there's a lot, but off the top of my head.
Yeah, we'd love to pick your brain at some point for books. We're doing a book club with Bad Catholic Dads. We have the BCD squared, which is the book club discussion. We're reading Jim Gaffigan's Dad is Fat is our one that we're kicking off with. So that's the one we're reading. I think we're going to have it all completed right to the beginning of June. So that's the one we're going to be. It's not as deep as any C.S. Lewis or Chesterton or anything like that, but
I'm sure there's plenty of profundities in the Hot Pockets man himself.
Yeah, exactly.
The first, like, if you open the book up, it's dedicated to his wife, Jeannie. It's like, you've been the best first wife a man could ever ask for.
Did you read it? Have you read it?
I read, like half of it. And
Okay.
we were just watching his stand-up last night.
Nice.
Yeah.
He's wonderful.
Yeah.
All right, let's get some more questions. What have you learned about yourself since you've been married and a father?
What have I learned about myself?
Yeah, what have you learned about is there something you learned about yourself while being married and a father?
While being married, that there's a, quote, right way to put on the toilet paper.
Oh my gosh.
What is it?
It all
What is
goes it goes over, I guess, but it all goes to the same destination is my argument.
So you would generally be the under with the flipped it around.
I don't give it a ton of thought. My wife does. And
Sure.
so sometimes I reverse it just to bother her.
Yeah. to show what's going on. Huh. That's a good one.
No, I inherited my father is an instigator. He just loves pushing people's buttons in good humor. And it's those moments where you're like, oh my God, I am my father. Like my dad will repeat things when he doesn't know the answer to give himself time. Like my mom would say, like, did you take out the trash? And he'd be like, did I take out the trash? All indignant, but he's searching his brain. Like, did I take out the trash? Did I actually do it?
Yeah.
And I've done that a couple times with Jackie, not realizing I'm doing it. And she's like, oh, stop it. You're being your dad. And it's that like moment where time slows down and you're like, dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
I am my father. But just you learn, like, how selfish you are, like little things, especially when you have kids. Like, you can't do what you want when you want, and sometimes you're cool with it, you roll with it, and sometimes you're kicking and screaming inside, and you just have to be like, not about me anymore.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good. You offered up. One of the perks of being a dad. What is your favorite animated kids show that you aren't sick of and won't completely freak out when you're watching it?
Little Einsteins.
Nice.
Those tunes are catchy as anything.
And the classical music.
My
So good.
Abby's all into it. I'm not sick of it yet. I feel like she's learning something, hopefully.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm learning when they give me random composer names,
Mhm.
even though I never remember who they are.
I only know Beethoven. That's pretty much it. So.
Yeah,
In
you
that-
get excited when there's one you know.
Yeah.
In that same vein, do you have a full length kids movie that you're like a fan of?
I'm totally on the Moana train right now.
Yeah.
Like we
That's
watched
all
it.
we have. Yeah.
We watched it like 4 times in the span of 3 days or something, and I was excited every time.
Nice. What's a
I don't know.
show?
I feel like you could have like the story is. It's very easy to Christianize it in the sense of
Oh,
vocation
absolutely.
and
Sure.
call and mystery of it, and it's not a feminine story, even though it's a female protagonist. Like
Mhm.
Frozen's a pretty girly story.
Yeah.
Moana, you could have switched out with a guy and still maintain the essence of it, that I'm being called to something more. There's some obstacles in my way.
Sure.
So I feel like it's tapping into something deeper.
And as a dad, I fully endorsed the no love interest aspect of that show.
The only friends my daughters will have, the only 3 friends are the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
There you go.
Nice.
That's the only 3 male friends they will have.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm not in the interest of picking my daughter's vocations for them.
Yeah.
God will do what He does, but I
Sure.
will give them the choice of habit. I
Sure.
say you can wear white or blue or gray.
See,
Sure.
there's plenty of choices.
You have all the freedom in the world.
What's a show that you and your wife watch together?
We really like Chef's Table. That's been fun on
Good show.
Netflix because it kind of scratches the travel bug, because it's just you're looking at all these top chefs around the world. The film quality is amazing. And it's not just about the food. Like, I'm not a foodie, but you get inside their heads. Like, why did they get into cooking? Like, it's really good, like interview style of what drives them, their failures, and foods that are way too expensive that I will never actually go to eat at. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then when we don't feel like thinking at all, we put on The Office.
There you go. Oh,
classic.
classic one.
Classic.
Is there a show that you love and your wife hates, or like you like and she just doesn't like at all?
Not really.
You guys are on
Nothing
board with
that-
that?
Nothing that comes to mind.
Yeah. Okay.
And so, like the cooking
Yeah.
show, the cooking one though, what is it called? It's on Netflix, huh?
It's called Chef's Table, and
Okay.
I don't really care for cooking shows, but it's not like a cooking show or competition. It's just like the top 50 restaurants around the world. They go and they film these chefs, and you get their story. And there's a lot of there's a lot of theology in it, because there's a lot of yearning. There's a lot of like they're finding faith through their food, or their hunger for life is being manifested in their cooking. And so. And sometimes you just wish, like, man, like our faith is so rich, like, and you see like what Bishop Barron's putting out there, like that quality of film, and you wish, like, I just, like at some point, like the generations will be opened up again to this, like they won't even be jaded. It'll be like we've never even heard of, like the Christian faith the way it's being presented here,
Mm-hmm.
and
Sure.
to be presented with beauty. It's not a bunch of no's. It's not a repressive way to live life, like.
Totally.
So the last fun question before we get into like just your last, where to find you, when's the book coming out?
Right.
Last question is favorite adult beverage.
Bullet bourbon is pretty safe.
Oh, nice.
There you go.
Lefroy, if I'm getting, which is a really peaty whiskey,
Okay.
a really peaty Scotch,
Okay.
and you give it to your worst enemies and your best friends.
That's the
Nice. Well,
you
with
be fair
that,
with everyone.
It could start a car. or kill a donkey.
Sure.
Hopefully they're not
but-
the same thing. Yeah.
I know, but Bullet's the kind of safe, smoother one. Sarah Swafford, who's another Catholic speaker, her husband he's a dude. He's play football, but he like has his doctorate in theology. He's a professor at Benedictine College. Knows Greek, like awesome guy. And him and I we killed a handle of doers over a
Okay.
couple days.
Wow.
Nice.
Just
Yeah.
wonderful dadly conversation.
Nice. Yeah.
So I associate doers with that wonderful dad.
Very
so-
nice. Very nice.
very
All
good.
right. Well, with that, Bobby, thank you so much for coming on. Tell the listeners where to find you, where to find your work, when the book's coming out, and is it going to be everywhere or like Amazon and stuff like that, or?
Yeah, definitely Amazon and the Pauline Books and Media website. I'm sure we'll probably sell it through our blog site,
Sure.
jackieandbobby.com, which is where you can find me. Jackie is Instagram and Twitter. I stay off the grid like Ron Swanson for the most part. So, but the blog is where you can contact us and
Awesome.
any prayer requests or just fun content.
Awesome. Well, Bobby, thank you so much for coming on. I remember when we were looking for guests. I know, obviously, I know you through your wife, and my wife was like, "You should get Bobby Angel on." And I think I commented on like your blog on your guys on jackieandbobby.com,
Yep.
and I was like, "There's no way. He's not. There's no way." And but thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, again, we're a team of two. So if you write in, you'll get to one of us.
Awesome.
Depending on, again, the children's
Sure.
ability to give us freedom to do so.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love being a dad, and I love that you guys are doing this and creating this. And I think, again, podcasts are the way to go.
Yeah.
Like with the new evangelization, the new media, like
Definitely.
this call to use what's at our disposal. And so I think the more Catholic podcasts, just putting out good content, the better. So I'm honored to be a part of it, be your first guest, hopefully.
Not the last.
Not the last.
Yeah,
Hopefully
well,
it-
thank you so much for just coming off the grid to join us on this podcast, man. We really,
God,
really
like
appreciate it.
All right, cool. Ladies and gentlemen, you can find us on iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play. We're all on there. You can leave us a review. We love reviews. Give us that 5-star love. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, Patreon. Any help you guys can give us, we really appreciate it. And we'll see you next week, guys. Take care.
God bless.
On accident. My wife's amused by it, so
That's pretty funny.
Nice.
you can make that part of the show if you want.
No.
Yeah, we do that. The introduction is always done in falsetto, so we got the right person in on here.
I always do the happy birthday song in the highest key.
You always hit the high octave. Nice.
Yeah.